pick a topic or?
I had like a couple. So this is interesting. I legitimately was thinking about this in the shower the other day, and I was actually two things, but I'm going to keep it to one because I know how, yeah, we can go off the rails. But it was about jealousy. And so a friend of mine is dealing with some stuff with, a boyfriend, and she's like, he's being jealous, and it was really bothersome for her. And another friend of ours, we were sitting there talking about it, and she goes, well, jealousy, she's like, if anything, she's like, I think jealousy is a good thing. Like, I think that means he cares, that he's invested, that, it's he's thinking about your future, and like he's concerned. It just went down this path of like whether jealousy is a good or a bad thing. And I kind of left the conversation thinking, I've never thought of jealousy as a good thing, but I don't know that it's a bad thing. Like,
Well,
I feel like it's so dependent on the situation and the
yeah,
scenario
why can't
and
it
the
be both?
circumstances. Right. It's kind of a both. But my one friend was just like, no, jealousy is never okay. It is bad. The other one had the complete opposite of like, I think it's good. I think that jealousy is a trigger, or lets you know that you care, that if you're feeling jealous, that you care about this person and that the relationship really means something to you. And it just left me wondering, because I know I've had moments of jealousy. Like, I think we all do. I think it's a feeling that you can't control. You can say you don't want to be a jealous person and say, I'm not jealous about, but it's like, we're fucking human. Of course, you're going to have moments of jealousy. And it may not just be in a sexual relationship. It could be a friendship, even like if you're really fucking happy for someone and they got this amazing job, or they met someone, or they got a new house, or like whatever it is. I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling like, oh, I kind of wish I had the same thing, but still being happy for them. That doesn't mean you're
Exactly.
not also fucking happy for them.
Exactly. Why can't it be both of those things? And maybe it's our denotation and our connotation of the word jealousy.
But I just feel like, before that conversation, and I'll admit it, I've always thought of jealousy as a bad thing. Like, if I hear someone's being jealous or acting jealous, I immediately think of in a negative connotation. And as my girlfriend was talking about it, I'm like, maybe, again, like, I'm trying to be more open-minded to it. It's like, maybe it's not a bad thing. And then I've even thought about with my own relationship. I've definitely been jealous a few times.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess it was an indication of like, I really genuinely care about this person. Like, and it wasn't malicious, and I didn't act nuts about it, or, I think a lot of the time that could be a
And
part of
that's
it.
what makes the difference, really, right? So the other day I literally said the words, I'm jealous, and I meant it. But it was about a material thing, oddly enough. My sister and her girlfriend every Saturday go thrift store shopping. And they found this my sister found this amazing picture that had these exotic wild birds on it. And that is, so everything in my kitchen is animal themed, right? I don't want, everything's animal themed. I don't want farm animals. I want crazy wild animal themed stuff. And this picture would be perfect for my kitchen. And I said, I'm jealous. And I meant that in the true sense of the word. But I wouldn't take it from her. I'm
Of course.
excited she found it. I mean, like, well, hot diggity, if she found something like that, what do you think I did this weekend, Freedom? What do you think I did yesterday?
You went to thrift stores.
I sure did. And I had a great time. And I found something amazing
What'd
that
you find?
in my kitchen. It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty awesome. So that jealous moment evolved into something really great,
See,
actually.
there you go. I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, after really giving it some thought, not that I gave it that much thought, but that, like, after that conversation, it was like, maybe it's not all bad.
Mm-mm. I mean, like that's maybe in the eyes, in the hands of the person instituting it. Like I have seen jealous people that I could live without, right? And they end up killing people from jealousy. And
Yeah,
that is a
and there's
problem.
also people that legitimately, I think, can't be happy, or they sabotage other people.
Sure.
You know, I think you possibly see that, like, say, in a work environment,
Yes.
or
But that's the good, so that's the great thing about this conversation too, right? Is and it goes so well with what we were talking about earlier, is being 100% convinced that person is the right person for you, right? Then you say, oh, they're great, except for they're just insanely jealous, and it's terrifying. Probably not the right person for you. Step away.
yeah.
But I mean, like, and jealousy plays into a lot of things. Now, I like to pretend I'm a self-aware person, and I say pretend, but I mean, like, there are moments when I'm probably not self-aware, and but I did know at that moment when I was literally using the word jealous about a fucking water pitcher, right? That it was not detrimental, and I'm glad she found it. And I was literally, my only thought was, well, I'm going to start going thrift storing because who knows what I'll find. And so that was a good lesson. But then, you move that into a little more intensity, right? Like you move that into a job situation.
Yeah.
And then the level of intensity of jealousy can also, like, cause some pretty bad fallout.
Yeah, and I do think it's all in how you handle it, right? Like, I even in sales, especially, like, there are people who are amazing at their jobs, like amazing, and there is a part that's like, God, I wish I could be that. And I think that if anything, that's like a signal of, how about talk to them? Like, how
Yeah.
about ask them for advice? And, you can learn from that if you're feeling that, instead of using it, and the person may say, no, go fuck yourself. Like, that's fine. Like, but I do think that it's a signal of, clearly a signal of, like, you can either do bad, good, or indifferent. Like, you can feel jealousy and just do nothing with it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you could watch, just watch it. I mean, I do that when I see some girl in a cute little outfit. Bitch.
I know, it's like, oh,
And then I let it go. And then I'm not, when I call a woman a bitch because she's in a cute little outfit, I don't think she is a bitch, right?
of
Right.
course.
I'm just like, bitch. And so, and then maybe I start a conversation and then I now suddenly have a best friend for life. Who knows? Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of anything, not just jealousy, but jealousy is so prevalent in our society.
It's so prevalent. I mean, I remember reading, and this was like 10 years ago, was reading this whole thing about the Kardashians. And I will admit, I've never watched an episode of the Kardashians. I've seen snippets with, it's shared on social media or, like, in different shows, but I've never had a desire to watch it. And the whole article was about how they believe that depression is becoming more prevalent, and part of the reasoning is you have shows like the Kardashians. They just use that one as an example of how now we, as, like, normal people, can see how the rich genuinely live, and, like, we don't have access to that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, like, how, that's why a Starbucks, for example, does really well, or did really well when it launched, because you started seeing celebrities everywhere with the Starbucks cup. And it was a normal person's way of feeling like they could have something that a celebrity could have,
Clever.
right? That they could afford. And it's like, I don't know. I just find that topic to be really fascinating, because if you think about it, even like a Kim Kardashian or the Kardashians in general, I mean, just from the small amount I know, and I don't know a lot, I wouldn't say they're necessarily happy people. I mean, how many fucking divorces has she gone through? And like Kanye's clearly crazy. And I mean, from what I've heard, like the mother possibly, put her sex video out to make her famous. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't really care. But it's like, if there's even any inkling of truth to that, how fucking terrible is that your mom would use something like that to make you famous?
Mm-hmm. Although I struggle, this is like one of my struggles right now, is I've started like questioning whether anything is real, right? Like maybe she literally made that tape intentionally to have her mom put it out and not just the Kardashians. It's all of us. Yeah. And I don't mean you and me, because there is no tape of me having sex.
There's no there might be a couple of me.
I know, now I'm suddenly like, wait a minute. No, there is no tape of me having sex. There's a tape of me like being a little dominatrix to this one kid that I could not for the life of me figure out. Like, he was like as normal as they come in the big scheme of things, and he wanted bad things to happen to himself. I was just like, who the fuck are you? I mean, these kids, I don't know where they come from, but we digress. I'm sorry. I just, I'm very suspect of all of that. Some of it to me is, very calculated in certainly, but that's because, again, they've created this situation for themselves where now they're forced to produce, right? And they have to produce at a certain level in order to maintain their lifestyle or whatever it is. And I don't know that I feel sorry for them, because they've met their bed. Yeah.
I don't feel sorry for them, but I think what's interesting is the amount of jealousy that people have over wanting their lives or wishing you had it. And it's like, just because what you're saying is that, just kind of to your point, it's like you may be saying it, but it doesn't mean it's real, or it's prefabricated or created in order to have this illusion, right? Like,
it's planned out. It's storyboarded, as a matter of fact. And I guess that's the life we're now living.
Yeah, I actually remember when I still lived in Phoenix, I don't remember how it came about, but somehow it was like a friend of a friend who was a casting director, and they wanted to do a show, like a real world Sex and the City. And somehow this person got my phone number, this casting director. And I remember talking to him, and he was asking me about my life and how I live it, and if I'd be comfortable with everything being recorded. But the one thing that I remember stood out was he was like, look, some of these things we're going to have to embellish and recreate, and you're going to have to be okay with it. Like, it may not be what the situation was actually, but it is television. We need it to be dramatic. And I remember being like, no, I just don't want anything to do with that. Like, no.
Yeah. It's too much. And not only that, so on that same note of the jealousy, and we can use, I don't know that we're supposed to say anybody's name, so let's not say any names. But there are probably also a small handful of people that take that jealousy to the bad point in those people's lives. And I'm not saying that they deserve that either, right? Although some would say, well, they've made themselves public, they put their lives out in the public. And I'm like, you know what? I get that, but there's still a line to me between, acting on your crazy jealousy, and these people are people, and they still are human beings, and they deserve the rights that human beings should get. And that's all of us, right? Not just white men. Everybody.
Can you bear with me a quick second? Only because the sun's going down and it's starting to get cold, and I don't have my heater on, so I just need to roll over here to turn my heat on very quickly.
Oh, I love it that it's right next to you.
Yeah, it's literally right there.
Well, that's good because then you'll stay warm.
I just turned it on and it's set at 61 and it came on. So it's not even 61 degrees in here.
Oh my gosh. Mine is at 63 in all fairness. So, but it's warm here today.
It was
Yay!
warm here today. Like it was crazy. Yesterday it was like -8 with the wind chill, like something insane.
I saw that on your first social media post
I
in
know.
3 years.
See, I took a step, I took a leap. I was like, I gotta try it. I gotta like get my sea legs.
Yes,
So I started with that because it was something very simple. But
because I need you, Freedom.
and I'm so sorry. Last week I was traveling, so I was having like, and this week I'm gonna be I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
so
still gonna send you things, and eventually, at some point, you'll
it's gonna
do
happen.
what
It's
you
gonna
need to do,
happen.
right? Whatever
It's
it
gonna
is.
happen.
Jealousy.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, I don't think that it's that big, but I mean, what's crazy is jealousy can lead, to your point, like to death, right? Like I saw on Twitter, I'm sure you've heard I mean, when I was in Atlanta last week, it was so wild. My colleague and I were, after our dinner, went to get a drink afterwards downtown, and we started seeing the boards going up, the big wooden boards. They were putting them up on businesses. And we were like, what is going on? And then we had heard there had been a riot the weekend before, and a cop car had been set on fire, like right outside of where we were. And the video was going to be released that night, that Friday night. And it's like the article I saw was that one of the cops who killed, I'm drawing a blank on his name, not Tyree Nichols. What is the young kid that was just killed in Memphis?
It's not Tyree. Ty Nichols.
It is, right?
Tyre, Tyre.
Yeah. Tyree Nichols. So that video was getting ready to be released. And then on Twitter, somebody wrote that one of the cops was dating or had dated. It was like his ex-girlfriend, and Tyree Nichols started dating him. Like there was some interpersonal relationship. And so I started looking into it, and it turned out that was fabricated. That wasn't true. But I did think, like, how often, I mean, the number one reason people are killed, it's not mass shootings, it is because of jealousy and relationships and easy access to guns.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, it's insane to me that, you know, Congress would not pass that law. And I can't think of the name of it, but it was basically, if a man, well, it's typically men, but women too, I'm sure, but men who had been accused of battery towards their wives, like domestic violence, they wouldn't be allowed to have a gun, and it couldn't pass.
Yeah. Well,
and it's like, that's the number one group of people murdered, are people who are jealous, like interpersonal relationships, cheating, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And
maybe that's why we have such a negative connotation of jealousy, right? Like that's when you hear it or think about it, like those are the images or things that you think of as, you know, someone being hurt as a result of it, instead of really trying to reframe it as, okay, this is telling me something, and what do I want to do with it? But I think that takes a level of consciousness that when you're angry or pissed or mad, like you just can't. Who the fucking think when they're like angry?
But I think it's, and again, what do I know? I think it is possible to think while you're angry. I think it's, you have to want to do it. Like what drives you is what makes those determinations. So, I can, like, in general, like I would say, yes, I can be a jealous person, but I'm not jealous in relationships. As a matter of fact, in relationships, I'm the exact opposite of jealous. In the sense that I'm like, maybe I'm taking your friend's point of view in this particular instance where I don't have time for it, right? So, but when I do get jealous, I've been fortunate. I don't know if I had anything to do with this personally, but and that picture is a fine example, is I got off my ass and I said, I bet you I could do the same. Like, I bet you I could find something that's why didn't I think of this sooner? Or, you know what I mean? That's where I go. And I think in that sense, jealousy for me has been pretty effective. Like, and that's the same thing that's so on the cover of My Vegas magazine, which is a magazine that, you know, comes out here. It's this edition is, you know, all the women movers and shakers in Las Vegas. I'm not on that list. And I'm not even going to say I'm jealous of these women because I'm not quite there yet, but I am aware of, and I ask myself, well, is this where I want to be? Do I want to be in this magazine? Like, do I want to be that mover or shaker? Okay, then if that's what I want, then I will start taking those steps. If it's not what I want, then I say, well, good for them. I wonder if they can help me get what I want, right? So I think jealousy used properly is an amazing motivator and tool.
I agree. I totally agree. So again, I just feel like it's that signal that like,
yeah, Now in relationships where if someone's constantly jealous of you, and they're like, they want to know where you are and they want to know who you're talking to and they want to see your cell phone, and two things are happening, and you know one of them is that person is doing bad things. But that's a sign too then that the jealous person that wants to have should probably free themselves from that person because they're not doing them any good, right? And then the reverse is true. If someone like wants to know every move you make, then you might want to reevaluate that, right? Because that's
true. But I also think, and I like, I'm comfortable enough to share even like a moment I had of jealousy with the man I'm dating, and it was ridiculous. But and I don't know that it was jealousy. That's the thing, is maybe it's not the right definition. But we were laying in bed and I saw that he was on his phone, and I like a text message, and he seemed to have a weird response. And then when I asked him what it was, he was like, oh, nothing. And then he said what it was a friend of his, something. And then later, like, we were watching a movie and he's like, are you asleep? And I was kind of in and out because I was falling asleep, and I saw him pick up the phone and but hold it far away, and I saw a bunch of like hearts. And so I asked him about it. I just straight up asked him, because in my past I wouldn't have, because it would have been like, I should trust this person, or I just wouldn't have. That wasn't my thing. It was like, I just never, I don't know. I just wouldn't ask about those things. And sure enough, in my past, it was bad shit. It wasn't. So I just thought, you know what, this time I'm just going to fucking ask. It doesn't hurt. And then he was like, do you want to see the messages? He's like, it's between me and my friend. It was a guy. And he's like, I sent hearts to everybody. And it was just hearts on the responses to like, and then I felt stupid. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, look, I know what your past has been. I'm not that person. Just know. And I was thankful that he let me feel better about it, not like a crazy person, but it was just my past kind of swinging into my future.
Yep.
Or my
present. That's gonna happen. You have to allow for that, and so does he. And he did, which is awesome. That says a lot about him. And you need to do the same, because you know what? We have pasts.
Right?
And I look at it as learning from our past, because here's where we're different, right? You're like, hey,
don't finish. Don't forget what you were saying. I'm just going to turn my light on because I feel like it just got really dark in here. Sorry, I should have had this on earlier, but I didn't think the sun would go down that quickly.
That goddamn sun does that, motherfucker.
I know. Totally.
Oh, look at that. Even more light.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Like, for me, like, learning the lesson is you're saying, hey, this is from my past. I need to know, what is all that about? him saying, look, this is how I'm doing it, and this is what it was about, and you going, oh great, I get it, no problem, done.
Done. It was done.
Done.
Yeah.
Now, and that's why, that's not, you're right, that may not be the definition of jealousy, right? That may not be the definition of jealousy. And maybe again, that's the breakdown between those two different opposing views, is again agreeing on the definition, like we just went through with fucking, right? Fucking. Our definitions might be slightly askew of it, right?
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, like, I don't even know that would fall under the category of jealousy, but I felt it was like that same feeling, I guess.
It is
like
the same feeling.
That stomach like turning a little bit of like, oh shit, is this not the reality I think it is? Or
right. But that's like me going, well, like I'm taking off my glasses and cleaning them, right?
Yeah.
My initial gut reaction and your initial gut reaction were two different reactions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but we talked it out, and that's the joy and the beauty of conversation to me.
Yeah.
And that's what you did with this guy you're seeing, because we're not saying his name, is you had a moment of talking it out, right?
Yeah.
Which is an evolution in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And those are good evolutions in relationships.
I think so too. It was definitely, because I think, one, I had to be a little vulnerable, right? Like in acknowledging that I saw something that kind of bothered me. And that's kind of putting yourself out there a little bit. One, he was probably like, I mean, he didn't say it, but he's like, why are you looking over at but I mean, it was right in my face. Like, it was hard not to see. It's not like I was intentionally looking, and it was more of like the response. And when he explained it, I was like, oh, that totally makes sense. Like, it wasn't, but I did not want to not say something and then it linger and me start telling my own narrative of something that was happening that wasn't actually happening, but because of my past experience, allowing it to turn into something that it wasn't.
Right. And you know what, in all fairness, your past experiences are pretty valid.
Yeah.
I mean, and so are mine, and so are his, right? I mean, we all have them.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it. That's why I'm like, that to me, that's not like checking up on someone, or it's like, hey, you know what, this has happened in my past. And a telltale sign is if that person's where, I don't care about your past, I'm not talking about it. There's a problem. You've got a problem.
That would definitely be a huge red flag.
Yeah. And then you could make that decision. Then you make that decision for yourself, right? Well, this is not going to work for me, or okay, I'm going to put up with it. So,